From the heart of Statesboro and straight down the Blue Mile, this is the Blue Mile Breakdown, your weekly dive into Georgia Southern football. Now here's your host, Brendan Sapp, Hail Southern and GATA.
Welcome in, everybody. Guess what? It's time. Season 2 is here. Man, I am pumped. I am ready to go. Welcome in. I hope you guys are as excited about the upcoming season as I am. I am very optimistic, very pumped, very ready. Man, I hope you guys had a great off season because it's almost time for the rubber to meet the road and this 2026 season to kick off. If you guys are as busy as my family was over the last 6 to 10 months, it has been a ride. Man, we got a lot. We had a lot of stuff happen since the last time I saw you guys. My youngest daughter got baptized. She and I both joined the choir that my wife was already in at our church, First Baptist Statesboro. And last Sunday, and it just worked out this way. I'm telling you, things have a funny way of working out with Georgia Southern and my family. My son was baptized last Sunday, and the entire Georgia Southern football team and coaching staff was there to see it. That was pretty cool. He got to take a picture with Coach Helton, and he reminded Coach that he had been offered a scholarship by Jared Binko when he was born, so he was hoping that was still legit. Anyway, man, lots of things going on. We're gonna cover the new players coming in. 44 new student athletes on this Georgia Southern roster that were not here in 25. Excuse me. Had to take a sip there. Clay Helton, obviously headed into his 5th season with Georgia Southern. Ryan Applin still calling the offense. And we got Big Mike. I'm going to say it this way. I've always said Mutts. I've heard people say Moots. I talked to him on Sunday. I should have asked him the correct way to pronounce it. But anyway, Mike's back, and he's running the defense this time. He's not just a part of the staff on the defense. Had a heck of a run, not only at Tulane, but then as the defensive coordinator, Stephen F. Austin, one of the top defenses in the FCS under his tutelage. So looking forward to see what he can do with this talented defensive roster Georgia Southern has. Like I said, guys, 44 new players on the team this year that were not Georgia Southern Eagles last year. That is a substantial number. I think one of the most, I don't know if it's most notable because I think we got a bunch of great guys. But I think the one a lot of people are talking about the most is Max Johnson, son of Super Bowl champion Brad Johnson, coming in from North Carolina at quarterback. He's made stops at LSU and Texas A&M, as well as Chapel Hill before coming to Statesboro. A lot of people seem to be high on him. Who knows? We'll have to see how it unfolds. But, you know, as I look at this transfer portal list, man, guys coming from a lot of big schools. I mean, I'm just glancing here. We got guys coming in from Colorado, Florida State, Arizona State, Syracuse, North Carolina, Arkansas, Auburn. Ashton Hollins coming in from Illinois. He gave a great testimony at church on Sunday. Really, really passionate guy. Can't wait to see what he does on the field. Cameron King coming over from Auburn, another wide receiver. We picked up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wide receivers. Andre Green Jr. from Virginia was a 4-star out of high school. I mean, this transfer portal to me looks like a big win. Some linebackers, offensive line that we needed because we had some guys transfer out too. We did lose some guys. So, French went to Cincinnati. I'm not going to lose any sleep about that one. We did lose Tyler Budge. He went to Rhode Island. Still some guys out there that didn't sign. That's the bad part about the transfer portal, man. There are 6 guys here that entered the transfer portal that did not get picked up. One of our wide receivers, Dylan Gary, went to Kennesaw State. Caleb Cook, on an interior offensive lineman, went to South Florida. Let's see, who are some more of these? Nobody really went anywhere big, like as far as a big FBS school. So Johnny Brown went to Louisville. Like I said, French went to Cincinnati. Robert Wright Jr., an offensive tackle, went to Michigan State. But a lot of these guys, North Texas, Memphis, Kennesaw State, Rhode Island. I mean, best of luck to them. Best of luck. That's all I can say. Now, the signing class for this year was really good too. When you look at the signing class, 17 of our signees played high school football in Georgia. 25 of the 35 played high school football in either Georgia or one of the surrounding states, like 71.4%, which is really cool. 9 high school signees joined up this summer. Let's see. Overall, 22 of the 44 new guys played high school football in Georgia. And yeah, that's 34-44. So that's 80% of the entire new roster that played high school football in Georgia, which is really cool to me. Jack Burquist was a late signee. He was the only February signee we had. Tight end, a lot of people are really high on this guy. 6'3", 215 pounds. Had, from what I could tell, a pretty good senior year. 937 receiving yards and 15 touchdowns, 1,500 all-purpose yards. Was a number 6. He was number 6 in receiving yards in the state for the 5A level in Florida. He's a tight end, and was number 6 in receiving yards. He was second team all-county and first team all-district out of high school. So a lot of hype around that guy. Hope that works out really well for us. Some kind of local boys here. We had Xavier Brown out of Camden County. Let's see. West Lawrence High School, Grady Howell, big lineman, 6'5", 290. What a hog, man. That's a big boy. All right, let's see. Only one quarterback this year, which was different than our previous years. Harrison Faulkner Jr. from North Oconee High School, another Georgia product, not too far up the road. And returning some really great guys, which I'm, again, excited about that. Chance Gamble, Devin Collier on the defensive backs that had really great. Tracy Hill Jr. Guys did great work last year. Glad to have them back. They didn't flake out on us and run somewhere else. Latrell Bullard on the defensive line. Glad to have him back one more time. No pun intended. Just trying to glance through here at some of these guys, man. If you're not watching the podcast, if you're listening, I am scrolling right now on a very bright screen. So yeah, let's see. I wanted to look. Yeah, I thought we had someone transfer in for kicking. Yeah, we had a guy come from Austin P. TJ Hartley III. He's a senior. Trip Bryant, though, to me has got to be K1, right? I mean, he had a phenomenal year last year, and I don't know. I'm not going to say somebody can't come in and kick better than him, but he was a freshman last year, man, and he was getting it done. Kid was phenomenal. I wanted to get to the quarterbacks because, we had. Yeah, there we go. We're at the quarterbacks now. Alex Smith coming back for his senior tour, our punter from Australia. Glad that he is still on the roster. Weston Bryan, man, 6'3", 245, still one of my favorites. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quarterbacks on the roster. Wow. Turner Hilton, of course, Clay's son. 5th year. Charlie Johnston, sophomore. Trey Townsend, junior. Harrison Faulkner, junior. This is the kid from North Oconee, freshman. And then, of course, Max Johnson, who, like I said, everybody seems to be really high on. Got a good pedigree. had some injuries here and there, like, let's see. There we go. Yep. The 2024-25 season had a season-ending injury in the season opener against Minnesota. Man. But in the game, he had 12 completions and rushed for a touchdown before getting hurt and getting put out for the season. So hopefully we're not going to see the injury snake raise its head against Georgia Southern. We don't need to get bit by that bug. But maybe if he stays healthy, he finally gets a chance to prove himself and has a phenomenal year at Georgia Southern. That's what we want to see. I know I do as a fan. That's what I want to see. Is I want to see the Eagles successful. So when you look at the preseason poll for the Sun Belt, of course James Madison the favorite, in not only the East but overall, making the playoffs last year, having that historic run. Lost another coach though, so we'll see how it goes. They did hire Billy Napier, who was a successful coach at Louisiana before the 4-year stint at Florida that was less than stellar. I know Florida fans that I know were glad to see him go, and were equally as disappointed that they got a Troy hire. But so yeah, Georgia Southern predicted to finish 4th in the East preseason and 9th overall in the conference. No respect, man. No respect at all. Wow. Let's see. Preseason, All Sun Belt first team. They have no Georgia Southern players. Only MJ Stroud and Chance Gamble are even first team anywhere. We got 2 guys listed first team defense, Chance Gamble and MJ Stroud. Second team, they have Josh Dallas listed. Glad he is back from injuries. New papa. Saw his baby at church the other day as well. He is a member there too. He's not just there because of the team. Defensively, Anthony Bynum. Let's see. Brandon Tyson. And then Trip Bryant and Alex Smith. All of these are second team. Preseason, which means absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, they're saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So I saw a thing earlier that showed us 9th. This is actually on the SBC website. Preseason has Georgia Southern predicted to finish 8th in the conference. Wow. Wow, man. Wow. I used to get really mad when I saw these things, but the older I get, the less I really care about preseason stuff, because it means about as much as my opinion on this podcast. Honestly, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a preseason guess. And 7-6 last year, you guys know, finally over the hump, beat App State twice last year, which is always sweet. Weird bowl season that we ended up having to play App State. But they seem to think that Cam Michael, wide receiver from Colorado, was the top transfer into Georgia Southern. We will see how that plays out. Let's see. Yeah, every poll I see shows Georgia Southern 4th in the East and either 8th or 9th in the conference. I guess we'll just have to see, right? We're not as mad as the App State fans, because they were predicted to finish 13th in the conference. Of course, Louisiana Tech, the newcomers to the Sun Belt this year, coming over from the CUSA, they've got them finishing higher than Georgia Southern. I remember playing them a few years in a bowl game and smoking them. And I honestly don't think they've really got any better. So, I don't know. We're just, we'll have to see how it plays out, because fortunately, the game is played on the field and not in books. So, looking ahead at the schedule for Georgia Southern, we open the season at home against Charleston Southern on September 5th. It's a night game, 7 p.m. Well, kind of a night game. It'll end up night, but it'll start very bright. Then we head up to Clemson, South Carolina to take on the Tigers on the 12th. The 19th, we travel to Jack State. And then on the 26th, Houston. Willie Fritz comes back to town, and we play the Houston Cougars in Georgia Southern, or in Statesboro, rather, at Paulson. Then we head out to Coastal Carolina, James Madison at home, on the road to Old Dominion, App State at home, Halloween night. You know that's going to be a good one. No matter our records, that's going to be a good game. Then we got Marshall at home the next week. Then we travel to Atlanta to take on the Kitty Cats of Georgia State. Travel to Troy and finish the season. We finished the season at home against Louisiana Tech. Now, this is what I have a problem with. The last week of the season is known as rivalry weekend throughout college football, right? We played Georgia State a few years there. We played App State a few years on that weekend. To me, that should be the App State game. There should be no other game but Georgia Southern and App State on rivalry weekend. Just like Georgia's going to play Georgia Tech, Georgia Southern should be playing App State. We got Louisiana Tech rivalry weekend. Why? Doesn't make any sense. Does not make any sense that, we play our rivals earlier in the season on October 31st and November 14th, and then play Louisiana Tech on rivalry weekend. Some things just never make sense, do they? They really don't. But, is what it is. That's just the way it plays out. So, looking over the schedule, Charleston Southern should be a freshman in at halftime game. There's no reason that game isn't a blowout. That game, to me, will set the pace of what our season's going to look like, because you guys all remember a few years ago, I won't even call his name Summers, when we struggled to beat the Campbell Fighting Camels. Yes, the Fighting Camels of Campbell. And I said it during that game. I remember tweeting, if this is the way our season's going to go, fire him now. And finally, we're 0-6, and they got rid of him. But Charleston Southern, that game should not even be, a contest, honestly. And no disrespect to Charleston Southern, but that should not even be a contest for us. That should be a game where we get to see what our depth chart looks like. Now, the following weekend at Clemson, they're probably looking at us the same way. This is going to, to Clemson, it's like, oh, Georgia Southern's coming. We'll just run through them. Jack State the following weekend. Who knows, man? Who knows? That could be anybody's game, because they're a good team, a good program. They're on the rise. I think that'll be a pretty good game. Houston, man. I remember when this game was scheduled years back. When the Houston game was scheduled, Willie Fritz was nothing to do with their program. But he's going to come back to Statesboro for the first time since he told the guys he was going to quit at halftime during the Georgia State game. Yeah. So we'll see how that one goes. I can't really make a call on that game. I feel like the Charleston Southern game should be a W for Southern. Clemson game, I don't know. With 44 new players, it's hard to say what we're going to look like and how good we're going to be. But if history is used to determine that, that's probably going to go to Clemson. Houston, again, man, I don't know. Coastal Carolina, we've had, good success against Coastal Carolina historically. There's just a couple years where Chadwell had those guys humming. He's no longer there. And the last couple years have been a shell of what they used to be. James Madison the following week. Look, we owned James Madison until they came to the Sun Belt. It's kind of weird, right? They just out of nowhere got really, really good and were able to maintain that success after losing the coach and 90% of the team to Indiana. They rolled into the playoffs this past season with a different coach. He's gone. So I don't know. You know, Napier had our number when he was at Louisiana, but he had our option number. He didn't really have the offense that we play now. New defensive schemes coming in too. So I'm going to leave that one as a toss-up. Old Dominion. This team, over the last few years, ever since they came up to the Sun Belt, this was another team that we owned historically that has improved a lot. I mean, they're a really good program, really good team. They've played spoiler to us a couple years now, just like Marshall has. So we'll have to see about that one. App State, I'm giving Georgia Southern the win over App State because I hate App State, and I'm never going to give them credit. Don't care. Moving on. They suck. Marshall the next weekend, it depends on which Marshall shows up. I really don't know what else to say there. Gag State on the 14th. I'm definitely giving Southern the win there because, you know, it's Georgia State. Troy, losing their head coach that really, if you look, everywhere that coach has gone, he's been a great success. Now he's at Florida. They got to start over again. Who knows? And I think we beat Louisiana Tech. Yeah, they look good in the Conference USA, but that's the Conference USA. Everybody looks good there. Like, anybody can look good in the Conference USA. Win more than 4 games and you're a god. So, I don't know. Looking at the schedule, I want to say we're going to be better than we were last year. I want to say that we're going to win more than 7 games. I'd love to see us win. I mean, I'd love to see us go undefeated. I mean, who wouldn't want to see their football team go undefeated? Looking realistically, though, we could be a 2-loss team. We could be a 1-loss team at the end of the season. Did we make the playoffs? No. I think if we ran the table and went undefeated, I don't think we would make the playoffs. Because even when Georgia Southern deserved to be ranked, they weren't. We beat App State twice when they were ranked. We beat a ranked James Madison. No respect given to Georgia Southern ever, and that's fine. There's 6 national championships back here behind my head. 6 flags fly over Statesboro, and it took those 6 flags to get that respect in the FCS. So, if we went undefeated, we're not going to make the playoffs. So, not even studying the playoffs. I'd love to see us in the Sun Belt Championship game. Love to see us win the conference. Realistically, I think we finish in the top 3 of the conference, top 4, and get a bowl game. Maybe get a better opponent than App State this year. But I think we have a good season. I really do think we have a good season. I think Clay Helton has got the pieces in place now. Like I said last year, I never understood why Brandon Bailey was hired as defensive coordinator other than he beat us in a bowl game. Honestly, never understood that hire. He's gone. We got Mike coming in. He brings a wealth of knowledge defensively. He already has the Gata mentality. I just, with the pieces on the table on our defense, a lot of returners on defense. I think that defensively we're a lot better than we've been the last few years. Offensively, I think that's going to land a lot on our offensive line and Max Johnson. What can Max do when he has time to pass and he's got a great receiving core? And I think we really do have a very good receiving core. I'm looking forward to it, man. I know you guys are excited. I don't know how you could be a football fan and not be excited that we're already just a couple of weeks away from kicking off the season. Don't call yourself a football fan if you're not excited.
There's places you play, and there's places you just have to survive. Paulson may be quiet now, but don't let it fool you. Because when fall arrives, this place comes alive. Generations of Eagle fans right on top of it. Every snap, every second, every moment matters. The power of Paulson, it doesn't just watch the game, it affects it. For our opponent, that pressure feels heavy, feels tight, feels like the walls are closing in. That's the squeeze. This season, we're writing something new. We love the pressure. We lean into it. We feed off it. Feel that noise, that weight? Oh yeah, that's the juice. And when the juice starts flowing, Paulson turns into something different. Through triumphs and through trials, we keep writing our story, chasing what's next. So if you decide to come to our house where the pages are turning, you better make sure it's worth the squeeze.
Man. I love it, dude. I love it. I love the hype. Love Jalen White being a part of that. How cool is that, man? Okay, so we talked about Mike coming in on the defense. What does that mean for the rest of our defensive position coaches? Well, he brings Kevin Beckwith with him, defensive line coach. And this guy, all right, here we go. In 2025, no team in the country spent more time in the opponent's backfield than Stephen F. Austin. They led the FCS in tackles for loss per game with 8.7 and carried a top 10 mark nationally in sacks per game, 3.0. They recorded 122 total tackles for loss, 450 loss yards with an 11-game win streak. I mean, wow, dude. Wow. That's our defensive line coach. So that is definitely a GATA mentality that he's bringing with him. Let's see. Prather Hudson, our safeties coach, comes from UGA. He's new, signed on in January. I mean, with the defensive backs, safeties that we have, that's a good pickup for us. You know, another solid hire, another coach returning with Mike to Statesboro, Andrew Newport, as he's the outside linebackers coach. And we get the same spiel about how Stephen F. Austin did what they did with this defense, with this defensive coaching staff that a great portion of them are now at Georgia Southern. And that's great. I mean, there's no other way I could put it. It's great to have that core unit of defensive coaches that were so successful at Stephen F. Austin, you know, come over together with, in my opinion, a very stacked defensive roster as far as players go. They just didn't have the guidance necessary these last couple of years. And I think Kevin Beckwith, you know, along with Prather Hudson and, of course, Mike leading the way, I believe we're going to see a huge jump in defensive production from what we've seen over the last few years. Now, I talked about a large quarterback roster. We've got an even larger running back roster. I'm just going to run through the names and then we'll talk about them. Bryce Baker, Terrence Gibbs, Braylon Marius, I hope I'm saying that right, David Bedinga, Foster Orris, Jamarion Samuel, Teo Todd. We got to see him some last year. Very impressive. Tyrese Woodgett, Ty Cummings. That's our running back core. Ty's a freshman, and this kid, I was excited about this signing. I mean, really excited. Let's just see if we can find some stuff about him. Yeah, here we go. I played at West Lawrence High. He was the 3A Player of the Year and first team All-State selection. Rushed for 2,615 yards and 31 touchdowns in 14 games. He also caught 10 passes, 167 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He broke the state's single-game rushing record. Get this, 615 yards on just 19 carries, scoring 8 touchdowns. Dude. He was ranked number 51 in the entire country in the running back position. So that's a huge get for Georgia Southern. And I hope we get to see a lot of Ty Cummings this year. Let's see. Now, he left West Lawrence holding school records in career rushing attempts, 771. Most touchdowns in a game, we just touched on 8. Touchdowns in a season, 31. And for his career, 64. Of course, the state record is also going to be the high school record, 615 rushing yards in a game. 2,558 in a season, which is another West Lawrence High record. And career 6,003 rushing yards. during his time at West Lawrence High School. He was also a region champ in the 200-meter dash and 4x100-meter relays, and a regional champ in wrestling. So, I mean, not only he's not just football focused, he did some other things too, which I think is great for an athlete when they don't focus on one sport. They do many different things. It just shows the level of their commitment and their talent, and work ethic when they devote their year to more than one thing. But Ty Cummins, a huge pickup in my opinion. Probably one of the better signings out of high school we've had in a long time. Looking forward to what he does out of the backfield. We can talk about Teo Todd for a minute. He played in 9 games last year, started 1. Now, stats don't sound as impressive as what he did on the field. If you saw what this kid did on the field versus the numbers, it's not even comparable. Like, I honestly thought his numbers were a lot higher because it seemed like every time he touched the ball, there was electricity in the atmosphere. He only carried the ball 27 times, 97 yards, 10 catches, 64 yards. Did a lot of special team stuff, but he got us a lot of first downs when we really needed them. I mean, I specifically remember hearing that name, and it's like, oh, Teo Todd's in again. Let's see what this kid can do. And he was impressive. So I think what you got there with those numbers is he popped off some big runs, but there was a lot of trying to get that 1 yard or 3 yards, whatever, for a first down that kind of stifled his stats there a little bit. David Bedinga, we are very familiar with this guy, man. This kid is he's a great running back. And, he was behind Jalen White for so long. Jalen, of course, an amazing running back. Bedinga only played in 7 games, started 1 last year. 196 yards and a touchdown on 49 carries, caught 5 passes for 18 yards. He was a nominee for the Burlsworth Award, which is given to the nation's top walk-on. So there you go again. He was a walk-on. Let's see. Trying to see if anything pops out. Well, that's impressive. He did sit out a lot of the season with a knee injury, and he had surgery in November. But he even made the President's Dean list in the fall during football season and spring for posting a perfect 4.0 GPA. Man, anytime you got an athlete that's posting that, what does it tell you? He's intelligent. That intelligence translates to the field with Bedinga. You can tell it in the way he runs. I mean, we've got a loaded backfield. I'm impressed by this backfield, honestly. I expect if we will run the ball some, which I hope we do because that opens up the pass, I think we're going to see some good stuff out of our backfield. All right, looking at wide receivers, of course, Josh Dallas is coming back, coming off of a horrific injury that sidelined him last year. Luckily, he was granted a medical hardship waiver. He only played in 2 games, which he started both of. Had 8 catches for 68 yards and a punt return for 9 yards. He caught 5 passes for 48 yards at Fresno State and 3 passes for 20 yards at USC. Suffered the injury in that game that took him out for the rest of the season. But he also made the President's list for a 4.0 GPA and made honor roll in the spring. So, and this is while playing football, nursing an injury, and also becoming a father, or you're preparing to become a father during the spring. Impressive kid. Hopefully, we're going to see another productive year from him. So, Ashton Hollins coming over from Illinois. Andre Green Jr. coming over from Virginia. He was at North Carolina before Virginia. He is a senior, I think? I think he's a senior. He's a 5th year. Cam King. This one was talked about some here too. This guy, let's see. My internet's being extremely slow right now, which is unusual. He comes to us from Auburn. That's what I thought. The Auburn transfer. He's a junior. Dude, this is insane. These this list of wide receivers. It seems like it never ends. Cam Michael, Statesboro boy. This is what I want to touch on real quick because 24/7 Sports and On3 both had him listed as the best portal pickup by Georgia Southern. Here's a cool fact. He played high school football for Matt Dobson. You guys remember Matt Dobson, former Georgia Southern defensive back, used to have the midriff out. Big interception in that Texas State game years ago that turned it over there. He was a 4-star prospect. This is Cam. He rushed for over 1,600 yards and 10 touchdowns. This is all at Statesboro. He played quarterback on offense, throwing 11 touchdowns. In all, he accounted for 1,700 all-purpose yards and 22 touchdowns on offense his senior year. Wait, that's worded terribly. That says career, then says senior year. Either way, it looks like a huge pickup that we got here, and he's coming home, so good for him. Get to come home and play for the college he watched as a kid growing up right here in his hometown. He played in 10 games last year. He only started 1. Made his debut against Georgia Tech on special teams in the season opener. He came in at running back in Week 8 against Utah. This is all while he was at Colorado. Started the season at wide receiver and transitioned over to running back. He is now transitioned back to wide receiver for Georgia Southern. But he had a GPA of 3.5 and was on the Dean's List at Colorado. So, it's great to see a lot of athletes with high GPA. I like to see that because as much as we as fans think of them as football players, that they're also students, and they definitely have to focus on that, and that's impressive when guys they can maintain a high GPA while also performing on the field. Looking at tight ends, Jack Berquist, this was one that they were high on, signed in February, I do believe. Played for Coach Stephen Price at Point Vedra High. 937 receiving yards and 15 touchdowns. As a senior, tallied 1,500 all-purpose yards, averaged 15.7 yards of reception per reception. That's a beautiful average there. We'd love to see him picking up 15 yards every time the ball comes his way at Georgia Southern. He was number 6 in receiving yards in the state. This is the state of Florida on the 5A level. And he also played lacrosse and ran track. Lacrosse, man. I always wished my high school would have had lacrosse. I always wanted to try it. It's a violent, fast game, like football. But I think maybe a little more violent because you're barely padded out there. But I don't know. We could spend days just going through this roster talking about people. Touch on Latrell Bullard really quick on that defensive line. Glad he got that one more year to play. He only played in 4 games and was redshirted last year, but he saw 150 defensive snaps in those 4 games. That is wild. Recorded 6 tackles, including half a stop for a loss. Made 2 stops against USC. Suffered an injury early in the win over Jack State. Missed the next 3 games due to injury. Returned in the Georgia State game. Tallied 3 tackles. Had surgery in November on his foot and missed the remainder of the season. So luckily we get him back for another year. Dude, he is a big old boy. Man, you look down on that line, it's 6'1", 350 pounds. When number 57 comes on the field. It's like, there's Latrell. I mean, he had so much to that line, and I'm glad we got him for another year. Amarion Brown from Wofford is the defensive lineman that came over. Anthony Bynum is edge rusher from Middle Tennessee. And those are really the only 2 defensive linemen that came over. Let's go check their stats out. All right, what did Mr. Brown do at Wofford? Played 12 games last year for Wofford, had 40 tackles, including 6.5 for loss and 2.5 sacks, forced a fumble and quarterback hurries. He forced a fumble that was recovered by the Terriers when they played Virginia Tech which is playing, way up for Wofford. And he was also a Dean's List athlete. He's originally from Woodbury, Georgia. So Anthony Bynum, 6'3", 255, outside linebacker. He's listed as an edge rusher. Easy for me to say. Coming over from Middle Tennessee. He was all CUSA second team last year, fourth team and freshman team in 24. He had 63 tackles in 12 games last year, including 6 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 4 pass breakups, and a team-high 8 hurries. Had a third best PFF grade on defense with 73.7 in 774 snaps played. Tallied 6 stops and a hurry in the loss to APSU. Let's see. Transferred to Georgia Southern in January. Made the president's list in the spring with a 4.0 GPA. My mouth is not moving as fast as my brain this morning. So yeah, we could spend the rest of the day looking at that. Looking at going through the roster one by one, but the defensive stop rate for Georgia Southern last year, 136 FBS teams. Georgia Southern ranked 123rd. Only 13 teams ranked worse than Georgia Southern. UL Monroe, Sam Houston, Virginia Tech, Purdue, Florida Atlantic, Boston College, UCLA, Rutgers, UMass, Arkansas, Georgia State, UAB, and dead last was Air Force. It only had a 51.1% stop rate, whereas Texas Tech, who was number 1, had an 83.5% stop rate. So I think that's something we're really going to see an improvement in with the new defensive staff. Now, looking at the FBS projections, this is where they think our teams in the Sun Belt are going to fall at the end of the season. They're showing JMU at 75. This after them making the playoffs last year. They've got them ranked the highest. Georgia State 133 out of 136. No surprise there as the lowest. But you got JMU 14 ahead of ODU, Old Dominion at 89. That's a 14-spot jump and really the largest space there. From ODU to Troy at 90, Marshall at 92, Louisiana Tech at 99, Arkansas State at 101, Georgia Southern at 103. There's really not that significant of a jump again until you get down to Coastal Carolina to Southern Miss, 119 to 131. The thing about it, if you look at where they're predicting, okay, this is funny. We'll touch on this for a second. They think that Georgia Southern's only going to win 4 conference games, have a 0.1% chance of 11-plus wins, and only a 56% chance of 6-plus wins. They give JMU a 98% chance of 6-plus wins. Their 5 best matchups this year, games to watch in the Sun Belt: James Madison and Old Dominion, Marshall at James Madison, Troy at James Madison, Marshall at Old Dominion, and Troy at Louisiana Tech. That's awesome, isn't it? I love when they count Georgia Southern out. We've always been underdogs. We've always played better as underdogs. I love when they count us out of everything. This guy that did this breakdown, his favorite transfer of the entire Sun Belt was Max Johnson coming to Georgia Southern. He says, I don't even know if he'll win the job. He first has to beat out Turner Hilton and Weston Bryan, but I love that we might see a fun final act for Johnson, the former LSU and North Carolina quarterback who came back from one of the most gruesome leg injuries you'll ever see in 2024. If he's capable of thriving, he'll do so in a Georgia Southern offense well suited for his skill set. Now, I will agree with him there. Definitely well suited for his skill set. And that injury was terrible. Let's look at this. Okay. We're going to just kind of go over what he says here about Georgia Southern. His final thoughts on Georgia Southern. With a growing number of challenges a group of 6 head coach faces these days: increasing revenue disparities, infinite roster plucking. Simply holding the fort is a solid accomplishment. In that regard, with bowl bids for 4 straight seasons, Clay Helton is doing fine at Georgia Southern. Last year featured some warning signs, though, as the Eagles needed 4 one-score wins to eke out bowl eligibility. That's true. Let's see. The offense was solid, as had been typical under Helton, but an incredibly young defense plummeted to 130th. Of the 15 returning defenders who saw at least 100 snaps, 10 are either sophomores or juniors. Helton went ahead and made a coordinator change, like we talked about. All of the sophomores are back. Jakari Brown, he's got him listed as the best defensive back. Anthony Bynum, Rashawn Miles Jr., Aaron Sears, Noah Mangum, touches on those a little bit. All right, let's see. Max Johnson, 6,356 yards, 49 touchdowns are his career college stats coming in. Josh Dallas, Kalen Williams. No returnee started more than twice last season on the offense. Let me say that again. No returning starter started more than twice last year. Wow. His take, defense improves while offense regresses. I hope the offense doesn't regress. I hope the offense at least maintains the level of last year, because I'm telling you, if our defense had been up to par last year, we would have won more than 7 games. And if you watch the games, you know that to be fact too. So hopefully we don't see that regression he's talking of there. Now, ESPN's Bill Connolly does say teams with first-year defensive coordinators most likely to improve has Georgia Southern ranked 4th. The Eagles' defense has been wobbly for a while, but it bottomed out at 130 last season. Expectations are extremely low. I love his take. I love to hear expectations are extremely low, because that means if the coaches in the Sun Belt are buying into this nonsense, that pays dividends to us, because they're overlooking it. They're like, yeah, we don't think much of it. Overlooking Georgia Southern's dangerous. Nick Saban had a lot to say about that. Let's see what Nick Saban had to say about overlooking your opponent.
And, these teams that are typically the best teams in their division are really good teams. All right, and you all may be taking the week off, all right, this week, but I'm not. And a lot of people take a lot of things for granted, and I get asked questions like, well, how important is it for the young guys to get to play this week? Well, how in the hell you know they're going to get to play? I mean, what makes you think that you can just assume that they're going to get to play? Because you're assuming that the other team is not very good? They do have a Division I quarterback. He plays like a Division I quarterback, and they're very, very productive on offense, and they do a great job of executing what they do. And if we don't play good against them, you all don't remember the Georgia Southern game, do you? I don't think we had a guy on that field that didn't play in the NFL, and about 4 or 5 of them were first-round draft picks. And I think that team won a national championship, but I'm not sure. And they run through our like through a tin horn, man, and we could not stop them. Could not stop them. Could not stop them. Because we couldn't get a look in practice. We didn't practice it right. All right, and everybody said the same thing in that game. Y'all took a week off. All right, this wasn't important. All right, so it's not important to anybody else. It's got to be important to the players, and it's got to be important to us. Everybody gets all excited about the beginning of the season. You get excited about getting married. All right, but after you're married for a while, you got to have a process to make it work. All right, and no matter what happens, we need to have a process to make it work in every game that we play. Every game that we play.
One of my all-time favorites there, I had to throw that in, Nick Saban with the very memorable quote. I actually think I had that T-shirt. I don't know if I still have it. If I do, it's not in good shape because it's a very old T-shirt with Nick Saban's quote on the back. But yeah, that's what I think. That's what a lot of football coaches hope for. I know as fans, I can speak personally for myself as a fan. I hope they overlook us. I hope they believe the media hype that we don't have a chance. I hope that they're looking at the next week and they forget about us in this trap game. It could happen. No, we didn't beat Alabama. I think it was 45-21 was the final. But what we did do was put up over 300 yards of rushing on a defense that had not allowed more than 200 yards since Saban took over the team. That's playing in the SEC. And Georgia Southern went in. I watched that game. They had starters into the fourth quarter. Then they started pulling starters out. So it wasn't like, oh, they pulled all their starters in the first quarter and Georgia Southern ran all over them. No, that's why he was still so passionate about it years later, because they had, I won't say Saban did it because I think he's too smart to have done it, but you obviously had other coaches on that staff and players that just overlooked that game because who's Georgia Southern, overlooking the fact that we were ranked either 1 or 2 in the FCS at the time, and that Jeff Monken offense was hard to stop for everybody. So I do enjoy seeing those clips of Saban so passionate about not overlooking things, and I think it's important at Georgia Southern too, that we don't overlook Charleston Southern. I hope that we go in with that mentality that this is the first game of the season. We got doubters. Let's come in here, win this game by 40. Let's shut them up. Let's move on to Clemson. That's what I hope to see. I hope to see that every week from Georgia Southern, but especially in this first game because it is one of those trap games where you could go in there cocky, way overconfident. This is Charleston Southern, man. Who cares? And end up in a dogfight. And we definitely don't need a dogfight that early in the season. I am glad that we're not in California for 2 weeks back-to-back this year. We got Clemson is our Power 5 game this year. It's not too far up the road. So, that was another disadvantage that we had last year with right at the beginning of the season. You had the entire Eagles staff and players just lived in California for 2 weeks. And when you get out of your routine, as humans, things don't always work the way they should. And that was, obviously Fresno State, dude, I thought we could beat Fresno State. I really thought we could beat Fresno State. USC, I was kind of like, hopefully we'll make a good show and nobody gets hurt. But Fresno State, I was like, yeah, we can win that game. And we did not. We were embarrassed in that game. But that's the past. We're looking at 2026. We're looking at a fresh start and a new season. I, for one, am extremely excited about this new season. And I'm extremely excited to see what we can do in Helton's 5th year, with new coordinators, 44 new players on the team. I just really, really have high hopes, as I do every year. I have friends that tell me that that's the reason I like Halloween so much is because it takes the focus off Georgia Southern having a bad season. And I tell them, or I remind them that I liked Halloween so much when Georgia Southern was winning national championships. There's no correlation between the two. But we're going to take a quick break to tell you about our sponsor, G Fuel Energy. Fuel your grind, power your play, and stay locked in with G Fuel Energy. When the game gets intense, hydration is everything. That's why I choose G Fuel. Zero sugar, zero caffeine, packed with electrolytes, antioxidants, and vitamins. Whether I'm streaming, grinding rank, or just powering through my day, G Fuel keeps me focused and fueled. G Fuel, G Hydration, stay fueled, stay unstoppable. Go to gfuel.com and use my promo code BrendanSapp157 at checkout. I will tell you that G Fuel hydration. I don't use the energy, and that's not a shot at G Fuel. I love their product, and having them on board as a sponsor is another blessing. I'm not an energy drink guy. I don't do energy drinks. I think they're terrible for your system. However, G Fuel is a sugar-free, more natural-based energy drink. So if I did drink an energy drink, it would probably be a G Fuel. I'm big on the hydration side. Having kids that are athletes too, I really push them to stay hydrated as much as I can. So this is Sonic. It's Sonic branded G Fuel peach rings. So it does taste like the gummy peach rings that you could buy, at any gas station in the state of Georgia. Very good, and the hydration quality of it, personally, to me, it hydrates better than Gatorade or Gator Light, even, or on the level of maybe even BioLite. You can drop a scoop of that in your water, shake it up, drink it, and you go do what you do outside, and you don't feel that dehydration drag. But anyway, enough about the sponsors. We appreciate them. We definitely love having them on board, and we appreciate them. One more plug before we get back to our closing here. Go to BrendanSapp157.com. You can pick up the Blue Mile Breakdown podcast t-shirt, the official shirt. We also have hats. We have Flex Fit, trucker hats, snapbacks, so many different products there at BrendanSapp157.com. You might have to scroll down a little bit because my streaming stuff is also mixed in there. So a lot of product there, a lot of information about me as well. So check that out, BrendanSapp157.com. Pick up your Blue Mile Breakdown t-shirt today. So going back to the 2026 season, here's my prediction. Here's my prediction. If the defense plays like I think the defense plays, I think we win 8 regular season games. I think we go 8-4. I think the high end of that for us will be 9. I don't see us losing 6 games this year. So I'm going to say my prediction's 8-4 regular season. High end 9, low end 7 on the win category. Call me stupid, call me crazy. That's how I feel about it, and I really think it's possible. I think we're going to see a big uptick on the defensive side of the ball. I think with the staff we have in place on the offensive side of the ball, Max Johnson, you got Weston Bryan, maybe being used a little more than just short range this year. Hopefully we have an injury-free season. I know there's going to be some injuries, but hopefully we don't have anything devastating like we did last year with Josh. I really predict that we're going to see an uptick in defense. So that's my focus going into this season, as I think the defense is going to be miles ahead of where they were the last couple of seasons. I think we have an excellent staff that's going to guide them there. The talent's there. It just has to be shown, you can do this. You are this good. Here's our schemes. Let's execute. Shut these guys down. So, again, I think 8-4, 9 on the high end. Call me stupid, call me homer, call me crazy, call me whatever you want to call me. That's my projection, and that's my hope. I want to see improvement. If we do go 8-4, I hope we're 9-4 after the bowl game. Because I like Clay. I like Clay Helton as a person, as a man, as a leader, as a man of faith, and as a football coach. And I'm hoping to see what he can actually do when he doesn't have to rely on the offense to try to score 100 points a game. Because I really think we see a huge improvement on defense this year. And I know I'm beating that horse to death, but check back with me after week 4. After we play Sam Houston, I will revisit these comments. Not Sam Houston. I'm thinking of Fritz where he was at Houston when we play Houston in week 4. I will revisit all of these comments, and if I'm wrong, if we're sitting at 1-3 or 0-4, I will eat humble pie. But I'm thinking 3-1 at best, 2-2. It's not terrible, but that's where my mind is when I look at these matchups. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank y'all so much for being here. I love you guys. You guys make this possible. Everyone that asked me questions in the off season, I hope I answered them today. If not, contact me. You can contact me through the website, BrendanSapp157.com. That's BrendanSapp DONSAPP157.com. You can contact me there or on any of my social media accounts. And you got questions, bring them up. We'll talk about it. And that's all I got for this kickoff, man. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you had fun. Maybe some of you only listened to laugh at me because I love Georgia Southern so much. That's fine too, you Bulldog fans. But anyway, I will see you guys next time. Hail Southern. This has been the Blue Mile Breakdown, brought to you in part by Gamer Advantage Eyewear and G Fuel Energy. Make sure to tune in next time as we dive deep into Georgia Southern football.
Wave the blue and the white, hold the banner high, and don't forget the GATA. Hey.